Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, the mobile university for entrepreneurs. This is the business podcast for educators who want to level up inside and outside of the classroom. This is your cheat code, and I am your host, Dr. Will. Now, today's guest is someone I don't even know if she needs an introduction because she is out here global, people. Okay. She's doing it big time, has been in the game for a while, sharing her information, guiding other educators, and trying to move people to the next level as this mobile first digital economy continues to iterate, expand, and grow. And y'all need to be ready for this because I'm very excited about this. Today's guest, people, is Holly Clark. And we're going to be talking about how do you use AI as an entrepreneur in your business. So for those be listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Simplecast, Stitcher, Spotify, and Audible, will you please reintroduce yourself, Holly?
Hello, I'm Holly Clark, and I kind of run a little company, sort of, like called the Infuse Classroom. And my point in running the Infuse Classroom is that I want people to infuse technology into their classrooms in really meaningful ways. And so my journey starts there. There's more to say, but that's who I am. I live in San Diego, California, and I do spend a lot of time in a plane. Last year alone was 320,000 miles.
Wow. So for those who may not know your story, can you walk us through your journey from educator to entrepreneur?
Sure. So in 1999, a parent in my classroom gave me a one-to-one classroom. And at that time in 1999, that meant an e-machine for every kid. And I was able to start to do things with kids in that early kind of time period that was changing test scores, changing the ways kids thought about education. And people would hear about my test scores, that they were quite different than the people around me in other classrooms. People started to reach out and say, "What are you doing different?" And at the time, it would just be like, "I'm using Google." Like, I don't know. And when people reached out, they asked me to speak at conferences and then come to their school. And pretty soon that kind of morphed into I can't do both. I can't be in the classroom and also go out and speak to all these schools. So I tried to find a way that I could stay in classrooms and also go out and help schools. Because for me, this whole journey from educator to entrepreneur, I don't want to sit and tell people what I think will happen when they try this tool or what I think will happen if you use AI with kids. I want to watch kids do it first and then tell you because I've watched what happens. And so my journey has been from being a one-to-one classroom teacher to being a director of technology to an assistant head of school to all of these things that eventually just led me to be speaking more. And so now in today's world, I only get to spend about 5 days a month with kids in classrooms, and the rest of the time I'm out talking to audiences, I guess you could say.
So when you first started to build your brand, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced?
How do I get my message out there? Who's going to listen? Why am I important? And things like that. But really was the becoming a voice that you wanted to listen to. So to solve that, I had to go present at conferences for free. I had to just apply and hope they accepted me. And that's how I was able to build a brand. I also kind of had a cheat code in that I worked for a team of PD specialists that put on these Google summits. And back in the day, in the teens and early, well, I guess the teens of the 2000s, lots of schools had Google Summits, and we had them all over the world. So that put me on the stage to do keynotes, and that put me in front of people. And then when people would hear that my message was about pedagogy and learning first, I was often the person that from that Google Summit, people would ask to come back to their school where no one else got asked. I would get asked. And so, but that was sort of in that cheat code scenario. If I hadn't been on all those stages, I couldn't be where I am today. And why, like you introduced and said, I've been in the game a while. That's why I've been in the game a while, because I was on those early stages.
You're known for speaking to classes, giving keynotes, working with admins about AI in education. We also know outside of that, AI is changing everything. They're on our phones. You are buying TVs now to have AI. When we are looking at, and from your perspective, when an educator is building their business, how can they use AI as a business partner?
Such a really good question because early on, we were just talking about like when I was first doing things, I had to build all the content. I would put on Instagram photos. I had to make those sometimes I didn't even have Canva yet. Like I had to just put together something on a Google slide and then screenshot it and put it out into the world. And now because I have AI, everything is different. And I mean, it changes every day. And this is why like you and I connected on this is because I was talking about how I use Claude now. And early on it was ChatGPT. I still use ChatGPT. I still use Gemini and I use Claude. I use those three a lot. And right now I can use AI to build systems for me. Now, when things first came out, like digital tools, I could use Canva to make the pictures for me. But now I can and if I were making a picture right now, I would go to Gemini because they have Nano Banana and I would make my picture there. And sometimes it doesn't get it right, but now I've learned how to edit the layers in Canva. So I'm going back and forth between these tools. And I don't stick in one. And I think that's a mistake people make is that they're like, I'm a ChatGPT person or I'm a Gemini person. When you're building a business, you have to understand what these tools do and how they can help you build certain things. And I also want to talk about this in terms of when you're building a business and you're putting work out on social media. LinkedIn is a different environment than TikTok, than Instagram, and they all want different messages. And that's cumbersome. Like that takes a lot of time. So I now have a skill in Claude. And Claude and I created this skill together about what I'm going to post on LinkedIn, what I'm going to post on Instagram, what I'm going to do. And I don't do Twitter anymore. That's just a personal political thing. And I don't even call it X, still calling it Twitter. And, and what messages go where. So I can come to Claude in the morning and say, I want to post something about AI and what we just did yesterday with kids. And Claude will take my thoughts, and I always start with my own wording, and it'll do LinkedIn, give that to me. It'll do Instagram, here's what you need to do. When I wanna do a video, it'll give me like a script. I never follow the script, but it starts me off, right? And so it's building for me things that took me so long before and was the bane of my existence.
Wow. So you mentioned the different ways that you are using and gave us concrete examples, but how can AI help people clarify their message and their voice? How do you use it to make sure that your voice is your voice and that you're not putting out there stuff that's just very generic?
So I think you know this, but the AI keeps a memory, right? And when I built that social skill that I'm talking about, it's actually called a social skill in Claude. It asked me a bunch of questions about the things that I think. And it is also remembering everything I come in with to do that initial post so that now I can say, and I do this, maybe I shouldn't admit this, but if someone does a comment like on LinkedIn and I find it a little hard to deal with, like they're totally against me, which is fine. We need that pushback in education, but I can't deal with it. I will go into Claude and say, based on what you know about me, how would you respond to this? And I say what the post is about, but I say the comment. And Claude has been keeping a memory of me, so it knows what I think and it builds a response so that I don't hastily in the moment go that's stupid, or whatever. And then as I interacted this social skill with it, and it always when I go in and I say to Claude, respond to this person, it goes automatically, because I'll say on LinkedIn, it goes automatically to social skill. And it knows this whole paper worth of information about me, about what I want to say to people. I want to uplift this. I want to talk about this in AI. And it goes through all of that. And then it crafts a response. And so having that skill in Claude is super helpful in making sure that, first of all, I don't get mad and go after the person because that can happen, right? And that I am responding in a way that is holding to these principles that I have set forth as what I want my voice to sound like. And I don't mean for it to be doing my voice. I've said, I want thought leadership in these things. Here's how I feel. And it's always taking from that. So I have so many skills right now in Claude that are doing things like that. If I write an email, I have an email skill. If I'm social media, I have a skill. If I'm responding to an email to a leader at a school, I have a skill. Like it's checking all of this stuff for me. And right now I'm trying to update my book and this like for entrepreneurs. I hope other people are not listening, but so I took I'm going to update a book called the AI Infused Classroom. And I took the book, I put it into Claude and I said, okay, this is my book. What do you recommend that I change? And together I'm putting with Claude some skills about, okay, when I change something, I want you to go back and look at like where I want this message to go. And it's looking at that way. I'm writing something else. It's coming back to me and saying, you said you wanted this and it's not there. You probably need to add this. And it's like running in tandem with me so that I am producing content and information at a lightning speed. If that makes
I
sense.
love it. I love it. How are you seeing other entrepreneurs use AI to create courses,
Yeah.
workshops, or even other professional development experiences?
So I work closely with another person. Her name is Alana Winnick. And she's out of New York and she's actually writing a book right now. So all day when she's writing the book, she's like, I just did this with Claude. And I see her doing the same thing and creating these skills that make sure that what she's doing in her book is this. Now Claude is creating a website that will be an accessory or whatever to the book. And then it's creating, helping her create, but also really doing a lot of the creation process on its own of making like a pamphlet for parents and what happened because she's going to be talking about digital wellness. And the other day, and I know that other people are doing this, but I'm going to explain it in my terms. The other day, I have this series right now that's like a 5-part series on AI literacy in schools and what that should mean. To normally do that, I have to build the website page. I have to build the emails. I have to get the Zoom link going. I have to do all of these components that stop me from doing it because I don't have time. And the other day, I went to Claude and I said, can you build a web page that does this? And it gave me the code. So I had to put the code in WordPress, but that was one shot, whatever. I said, can you build out all the emails that will remind people and do, and so it did. And then, and keep it to my brand. And the other day I was doing something and my brand colors are purple and blue. And I did something and I made something that wasn't purple and blue. And Clyde came back and said, that's not your brand colors. You need to, like, and I was like, it's not. I wasn't even thinking about that. But so I'm building, and that's what I want people to think about as AI in 2026. In 2024, we asked questions. We were like, ooh, this is a better version of Google. And we were in the Google era. In 2025, we started to realize that it could organize our life, do tasks for us that were like, maybe it's making a meal plan for me or whatever it is. We started to realize I could do different things. I think that 2026 is going to be the year of building for entrepreneurs. And I also think for your audience, this is the gold mine year. This is the year when people don't understand that we can build all of these things. And if you are, and if you're doing that, this will be your gold rush, I guess not gold mine, gold rush year, because people will catch up and understand it. But right now you can build things that other people don't know how to do. And this is your one chance. Like this is the person handing you a little flyer that says they've discovered gold in California. Do you want to go? And you've got to either be like, you know what? I'm going to pick up my stuff and I'm going to move to California and I'm going to go gold mining. Like that's what this is right now.
We've been talking a lot about Claude in this interview. What makes Claude stand out from other AI tools?
Okay, so can we date this at April 7th, 2026? Because tomorrow it could be a different day, right? But ChatGPT, okay, so ChatGPT has a part of it called Codex, and Codex can build stuff, but it doesn't keep the skills quite the way that Claude does. And Claude, there are 3 different versions. There's a browser version, there's an extension version, and there's a version on your desktop. So when you get the Neo, you're going to want to download the version on your desktop, and that's going to give you access to co-work and code. And those things are only accessible on the desktop. So Claude is really where I go to build. When I'm asking questions or I want to sharpen a thought, I go to ChatGPT. I'm not using Codex right now, but I'm probably missing out because I'm not. And when I want to do something like check what the other 2 have told me and run it by another expert, that's when I'll go to Gemini. And I go to Gemini to create AI videos, and I go to Gemini to create images, and I go to Gemini for Notebook LM. That's a whole nother thing. But so I think of Claude for coding. I think of ChatGPT for digging in research level stuff. And I think of Gemini as creating and checking. And that's going to change tomorrow. So, like I said, that's why I wanted to do a date check on this because Claude is changing every day. And I have to say this too for entrepreneurs or edupreneurs. You cannot get away right now with not having the paid for versions of these things. You absolutely can't. The paid for versions are about a year ahead of the free versions. And like if you're using what I'm talking about in Claude, you're going to run out of what they call, I think they're tokens, or I can't remember what they call it because I never run out because I pay. So if you're making this commitment and you're going to run a business, you've got to pay. Also, another thing I do that I'm sure that your audience does, but every morning Claude tells me the emails that I miss, that I didn't respond to, that I maybe started and put in draft. So it's giving me these like 7 a.m. updates, like you need to do this today and you need to run this. So it knows from these skills that I've created how to get my day started because usually I just used to start by opening my email and seeing what I needed to do. It doesn't look like that anymore. It's more streamlined. And Claude is also looking at news that's come out about AI that I might need to comment about on LinkedIn to stay a thought leader. So it's an assistant. So if you think about Claude costs $20 a month, $20 a month for an assistant? Yes, please. And so I do pay for all 3 of them. So it's coming to close to 100, maybe a little more because Gemini is actually more. It's worth it for an assistant that I've never had. So
Yeah, I pay for Claude myself. What I'm hearing from you and even from my own personal experience is that AI should be looked at as a way to build systems and a way to scale your
yes.
business, right? So instead of you hiring other people on your team or contracting out, which at some point, if your business becomes large enough, that is inevitable. But before that happens, you can use AI to build in these systems and create these things that you need to do without you having the team, but giving you the same work as though you would have a team.
And I think eventually, probably by the end of this year, you won't need any team. You'll be able to do everything on your own. The only thing that if you don't understand how to put code into a website, you may need someone for that, but that if you don't know how, ask Claude. It'll tell you what to go to your website and look for and where to put the things. The only thing that I have not been able to eliminate from my, like, we'll call it team or whatever, when I give really important keynotes with large audiences, I will pay for my slide design. And most people think that, oh, you could go to Napkin or you could work with Gemini and beautify your slides. That I haven't been able to do at the same level. So I'm still going to a graphic designer. I'm still saying, this is what I need. But in a year, I don't think I'll have to do that. That's the only place where I haven't been able to give everything up to AI.
So when you look ahead 3 to 5
Yeah.
years, how do you think AI will change what it means to be an entrepreneur?
Uh, I think it will mean that you won't let things slip, that you will be able to take advantage of an idea that comes to you in the shower, and you'll be able to build the systems to make that idea work in minutes. And so I saw someone on TikTok say that right now, because this is that gold rush, that if you took this month and you said to yourself, I'm going to spend an hour a day working with Claude. And my thing is, I wouldn't stay in Claude, but I would, like maybe you want to learn Claude, an hour a day for a month. And if you don't know what to do when you get there, you ask Claude and like say, I want to build a website. How could you help me with this? And it's going to give you the ideas. And so if you went in every day and just ask Claude a question about your business, by the end of 1 month, while other people are still using it to search answers to questions, not understanding what it would do, In 1 month, you'd be ready to move to Sacramento. I'm a California resident, so I know a little bit about where the gold rush happened and where you had to go. But you'd be ready to move to California and you'd have all of your gold rush gear ready to go. And you'd be ready, and no one else, other people would be still talking to their wives and being like, I think we should move. And so 1 month of dedication could help you. And I learned this from Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA. Not that
Mhm.
we're friends or anything, but from a podcast that he did. And he said, if you don't know how to use AI, ask AI. So this is a matter of you coming with a question every day and building something with Claude until you get it. Until you have a list. If you opened up my Claude right now, you would see 100 skills on this side. And you need to say to yourself, in 30 days, I should have 30 skills. And one skill will beget another skill. Do you know what I'm saying? You'll start
Mhm.
to be like, oh, I've got to do this. And now I know that when I'm done doing like a LinkedIn post, I tell Claude, remember this and put it in my social skill. So now I'm understanding the dynamics, but that just comes with practice, right?
This has been awesome, Holly, the gems that you've dropped, and I'm very excited about releasing this episode. Before we go, for those educators who are feeling overwhelmed with technology, especially AI, what are some simple starting points that they can use right now to support their business?
Huh. Wow, that's a big question. I'm gonna take it a little different direction in that you're gonna hear the message that prompt engineering is super important for your AI skills. And that's not true anymore. I think everyone who's kind of in deep in AI will tell you that it's shifted and it's now about context. And that's the context of the problem. What's the context here? And so if you start to shift and think about that if you're building a business and you want to get into AI and you want to do all these things, you do not need to know how to be a prompt engineer. That's a in yesteryear language, that's 2 years ago. And what you need to understand is the context of the problem, what the AI needs to know to help you build that. And I don't know if this is answering exactly your question, but that starting point is understanding that you learn by doing. You don't have to worry about this magic words in and magic words out. That's not something that's a thing today in 2026. And that just spending time on the platform is going to give you what you need. Here's my next thing though I want to make sure that people hear. You've got access to 3 experts. Like you've got in entrepreneurial terms, you've got Gary Vee and you've got like whatever and you can ask these 3 experts. Would you not ask all 3? And so when you have an idea and you put it in Claude, maybe the skill comes back. I would never give the LinkedIn post and put it out on LinkedIn from Claude. I would go ask ChatGPT, do you agree or disagree with this based on what you know about me? And then Gemini as a present, I don't think is keeping a memory, though I've heard that that might have shifted, but it doesn't know me as well. And so I just run it by like, like, are there any problems here in this post that someone could push back on? Because no one loves pushback. So I'm trying to eliminate for it, but the point being that you have 3 experts. Why would you not use them? Even if you're using them at the free model, running them through the 3 experts is super important in today's world.
That's all right. I welcome the pushback, quite honestly, because I see where we are now. And I am, I wouldn't consider myself to be super techie and all those other things, but I do know my childhood and what we did not have in terms of there was no microwave, there was no VC. And when they started to come out with Betamax and VCR, the VCR was the size of a small suitcase. And, TV cut off. Like we did not have what we have now. And so knowing that we are growing up in this world where everything is changing with tech, and then you can take your phone and you can buy a house, you can build a business, you can find a date,
Yeah.
all these things on your phone now. And you have people walking around in education, in other fields, industries, who are acting as though they live on a different world than we do. And so when I talk about tech and people give me pushback, I don't care. I will kick the door down because I want them to understand that the world you think you live in does not exist. And
People are trying, and they're trying hard right now. They are really trying to say, you know what? It turns out technology is not good in classrooms. Let's take it away. And I think that their arguments are fallacious. I think they don't understand what ed tech can do in terms of, we were talking pre show about creativity, about a kid making really quickly a podcast. No one is wanting kids to be on a screen all day doing practice sets of IXL math. No one wants that. But the other side of ed tech is so powerful. And what I have seen with kids and AI is that they get the help they need when they need it, instead of just sitting in the because I have dyslexia. So I would sit, and I didn't want to be the one that was like, I don't understand your directions. So I would sit, and I say this term all the time, I would fake work. I would act like I was doing something. So no one knew that I didn't understand what was happening, and I'd figure it out at home. Maybe I'd go to the teacher afterward. And dyslexic students have to find these ways around things, which has given me a superpower in my adult life. But at the time, I would fake work all the time. And I would even fake, like, write in answers and worksheets and go home and figure it out. But so AI gives me a chance, if I'm a dyslexic kid in a classroom, to get instant feedback and just say, hey, I didn't understand those directions. And the chatbot can come back and be like, well, what's meant here is this. We're not asking kids to use AI to copy and paste, to give over their thinking. We're asking AI to be a thought partner with the kids like me who have some learning differences, who may need some instant feedback to keep moving, because the amount of time I fake worked in my classroom was hours and hours a day. And so, what if we could change that scenario for kids? I know there are others fake working. I've caught them.
that's all right. Holly, thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. You're the greatest announcer ever.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Alhamdulillah. Now, people, you know how I do this. This podcast episode is going to be on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Simplecast, Stitcher, Spotify, and Audible. I need you to subscribe and to share with your network. And though I'm on all of these platforms, I'm really trying to grow on Apple Podcasts. So share it, listen to it, because they do check that. Leave me some stars and some reviews, because I'm trying to be found, and I'm trying to get Jay-Z on the show, because I want him to know that we're doing big things around here. Again, I'd like to thank my guest, Holly Clark, for coming on and dropping so many gems, and for you for checking out another episode of the Dr. Will Show. As always, people, invest in you. EDU. Peace.